So today we'll start with point number 16 in exception handling, throws keyword. Okay, so let me know once you're able to see my paint screen. Able? Yes, guys? Is my paint screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's say this is a very big sort of organization or college, let's say MIT, and they have their annual festival. Okay. So in the annual festival, they plan to bring some celebrity to perform. Okay, so let's say they want to call Coldplay. Okay, so they want this band to perform on the annual festival. So the MIT team will get in touch with the management manager of Coldplay, right? And then they'll start the negotiation. So Coldplay will set his conditions that he will say that first condition that he needs a business class airfare, air ticket, return. So from US to Pune and Pune back to US, the air tickets. So who will manage this ticketing? Coldplay or the invitee? So MIT has to manage this. So the manager is laying down all the conditions. Second, he says, we will be staying in a five-star hotel, not less than that. Third, we will be having all our personal vehicles. Okay, we will not use government transport to go to the from the hotel to the college and back. So we want personal transport. Okay, we want bouncers and security, and our band meals should be prepared as per our diet. Okay, and along with that, they will charge a particular amount. So let's say he says, I will charge 10 CR for the performance. So now who will manage all this? Who will take care of all this? Who will take care of the ticketing? Who will take care of the accommodation? Who will take care of the transport, the security, the meals, and who will pay the amount of 10 lakh rupees? So this is the caller and this is the callee, right? So who will take care of all these details? Caller. So Coldplay is just letting list of all the conditions. If MIT is willing to fulfill all these conditions, they will go ahead with it. If it is not in MIT's budget, they will say, okay, we'll look for someone else, right? So what happens in your throws? So if I have a main method and it is calling a function divide. So who is the caller and who is the callee? Who is the caller and who is the callee?
User will call up.
Hmm? The caller and this is the callee. Okay. So now let's say while calling this, they pass the value also. So they pass the numerator and denominator value. So let's say they pass 10 comma 5. So now this divide will take two parameters. right? Integer numerator and integer denominator. Now what will divide do? Correct? And it will display the result. Okay, so now what if while calling divide, main passes this? What will happen now? So this line is prone to throw which exception? Arithmetic exception. So after I did within, try. And which exception is it about to throw? So who is doing the handling? The caller or the callee?
Calling.
Callee is doing the entire exception handling, right? And whatever we will do SOP E1 dot get message, right? So we want the so so if MIT budget is there, they will say okay. So now this band will be relieved of all these burden and they will focus their entire energy on the performance. Yes or no? So now what happens in real-time Java? We do not burden the callee with the exception handling part. We only give the callee the job of its performance. Okay, so we will just say, so the callee will just take the numerator and denominator. It will not even display. It will not even display the result. It will just do the task which it is intended for. Okay, so this will be of type what? Type double, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So we will ask the function to focus only on its core job. That is the business logic. But now what if the denominator is 0? What if, okay, so on the LHS, we'll take the variable over here now. Yes or no? So now what if I pass 10 and 5? What will be the result? 2.0, correct? But what if I pass 10 and 0? This line will throw arithmetic exception. So now the caller says, I don't have time to do the handling part. I am very busy with my performance. So it will say, throws arithmetic exception. Now whoever is the caller, it is the responsibility of the caller to do the handling. So who's calling divide? Who's calling divide? So now main knows that this method has a tendency of throwing an exception. So it will call it in try. And if the exception occurs, who will do the handling now?
Caller.
The caller. So the callee will just say, so now this handling part will be done by whom?
Caller.
Caller. So you have to call this method and try. And if so, at 10 and 5, will there be any exception?
No.
So we'll display 2.0, 10 and 0. Will there be any exception?
Yes.
Yes. So if the exception occurs, who will handle it? The caller. And the callee is just telling that I can throw this exception I am not going to handle it. You are calling me. It is your responsibility to handle it. So while calling, you have to call it and try. Why? Because this function is prone to throwing an exception. So you have to call it in try catch. Got it? What throws does? So this is called as exception delegation. Exception. So if the manager gets a task that you have to complete this, the company owner gives the task to the manager. Does the manager do the task himself? He gets it done from the employees. So this divide is telling I am not going to handle it. I will ask someone else to handle it on my behalf. So it is doing what? Delegating the exception handling. Okay? So let's try to do this. Okay, I'll do it over here itself in this package only. No, we won't create any new package. So I'll make a new class what? Throws demo. So now I am in main. Okay, so I'll call the function divide and I'll pass what to it? 10 comma 2. Is this function there? I'll create it. So I'll take a double result equals to I divide by j, right? They have come where? Num and den. Num and I'll do what? Sys out the result. So if this is a simple code I write, I'll save and I run this code. So it shows me 5. But what if I give over here 0? We'll throw arithmetic and the code will collapse. So either you have to do the handling over here. Okay, so you are calling a band and you're asking them to cook their own meals and arrange for their own accommodation. So who's doing the handling? The calling.
Call.
E1 dot get message. Okay. So now it said divide by 0. But what happens in throws is, so this person says, I don't have the time of doing this handling part. I am very busy with my performance. So it will delegate it. That someone who is calling me will do the handling now. The one who is calling me will do the handling. So who's calling divide? Who's calling divide? Main. So main has to now call it within try catch. And if the exception occurs, who has to handle it?
Caller.
Caller will handle it, right? So we will return this also to the caller. So we'll take this result also over here only then. And we will ask the function to focus only on its primary job. Now what is this giving you? A double, that is, okay. So the function is very simple. Function is focusing only on its core job, and whoever is calling the function is doing the handling. Okay. So if I write 10 and 5 will show me 2.0. One function can throw multiple exceptions. So this I can throw this also, and I can throw input mismatch exception. You can have a list of exceptions which one exception throws. Now these exception which the, let's come to this example now. Now this exception which the divide is throwing is checked or unchecked. This exception which the divide is throwing is checked or unchecked exception. Yes, guys. Am I audible to you all? The exception which is being thrown over here, arithmetic exception, is checked or unchecked? आवाज चली गई क्या?
Sir, unchecked.
unchecked. So does the compiler check strictly for the unchecked exceptions? No. So now if I call this in without a try catch, it will still work. If I comment all this out, and if I directly call it without the try catch, also it will work. Why will it work?
Yes, sir.
See, it is still compiling it. It is still compiling the code. Even though this function is telling divide that I have a tendency of throwing arithmetic exception, it is still compiling the code, knowing that this code has a tendency of throwing arithmetic exceptions, but still it is compiling the code. Why? Because it is the exception which is being thrown is a unchecked exception. What if this would have told that I am throwing IO exception? Now what? Now see, do import this Control Shift O. Now what? Now, okay. Have we imported this? Control space bar, import this. Okay. Now what is the problem? Now why is the red line showing over there? Why is the red line? Because now the exception which is this function is throwing the checked exception, and checked exception compiler will not compile unless and until you show the handling mechanism, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I get a task, I can do that task myself, or I can get it done by someone else, right? So if I have a task to get a water bottle, so I can go to the shop and get the bottle myself, or I can give 20 rupees to someone and say, go get the water bottle. So if I'm buying it myself, I'm doing it myself. And if I give someone else means delegating the task. So same way over here, this is throwing IO exception. Now why is this red line? Because the exception which is being thrown is a checked exception. And checked exception, unless and until you show the compiler, the handling mechanism, it will not compile. So you can write it what? Either write in try catch like this, okay, that I have taken the handling mechanism if the I exception occurs, right? I have done some handling mechanism. This is part one. Or you can, okay, this is your part one. You can do it like this. Or if you do not want to do it like this, if you don't want to do it like this, then you also delegate it to someone else, the one who's calling. JVM calls the main. Who calls the main? So I delegate it to the JVM that please handle the IO exception. That even I can throw what? And the code will now compile. The code will now compile. So either you handle it by yourself or you delegate it to someone else. So this over here, divide. Is it handling the IO exception by himself or delegating it? It is saying throws means delegating to its caller. So who's calling divide? Main. Main himself also is not handling it. Main again is further delegating it to its caller. So who calls main? JVM. So JVM will do the handling. And how will JVM do the handling? JVM will do the handling by step number 3. Java's natural reaction. So this object, if it is thrown and is not caught, the program will terminate. But the program will at least compile. There will not be any compilation issues. Because compiler will just check either you handle it or you delegate it to someone else to handle it. Are you getting this point, guys? So either I write a try catch and handle it myself, or even I can further delegate the exception to my caller. And who calls the main method? The JVM. So JVM will do the handling. Okay. Got it? Throws keyword. अब डिफरेंस बिटवीन थ्रोज ये हो गया. एक्सेप्शन डेलीगेशन समझ में आ गया? Yes, guys, am I audible to you all? Are you able to see my screen?